Hi, my name is Ken Medellin, and I'm a parishioner here at St. Vincent de Paul in San Antonio, Texas. I am also an aspirant to be a deacon in the Archdiocese of San Antonio. I'd like to share with you today a little bit about my faith journey, with glimpses of who I was and where I was at when I was an infant, when I was in preschool, in elementary school, in high school, in college, in my time since then to the present. It's not really meant to encompass all my life, but rather just a few highlights of what events shaped me in my faith that make me who I am today. It began when I was an infant, and my father was sent to an air base in Verdun, France, as he was in the Air Force. And my mom took the time to take me to the Philippines, which was her homeland, and she hadn't seen that in 7 years or so. And so we took a plane from San Antonio to Los Angeles, to Hawaii, and eventually landed up in Manila in the Philippines, and spent a couple of months visiting over there. And on the way back, we ended up on a transport plane filled with soldiers from Vietnam. And my mom told me that I was a handful. I just learned how to walk and I didn't want to sit in the seat. And so she set me out in the aisle where I walked among the soldiers. And they had such a good time. They gave me ribbons and medals and chocolate and cookies and candy. And I was so happy. And I returned back to the seat with a bag full of wonderful gifts. I think I would characterize my faith at this time as a time of trust. When I was 5 or 6, my father was sent off to the war in Vietnam. And my family, my mom, my brother, and my sister and I went off to visit the Philippines once more. And this time we spent a year there. I was just beginning my first time in school, and so they wanted to send me down the street to St. Anne's Catholic School, which was run by the nuns. And I had a very difficult time making that adjustment to school. I couldn't understand the Tagalog they were speaking. I didn't understand the cursive they were writing. The time zone was just way off for me. And so eventually the head nun decided that I wasn't going to be able to be in that school. And so they made arrangements for me to go to the American school, which was, instead of right down the street, I had to ride a bus into Manila, which was a big hassle for everybody. And so at this point in time, my faith journey was about boundaries, about not being able to make it into Catholic school in the Philippines and having to go and be in the American school. When I was growing up, we followed my dad as he journeyed across the world as part of his Air Force career. We were in France, the Philippines, England, Fort Worth, Illinois, so many places. And we were always in and out of boxes and suitcases. But the one thing I remember we always had was we had a record player and a couple of records of Bible stories. And I would always listen to those records, which was narrated by, I believe, Charlton Heston, which is with his deep, booming voice. And I remember the story of creation. I remember Noah's Ark, and even the Tower of Babel. And so during this time of endless change, I had that one thing that was always with me, those Bible stories. I went to high school in San Antonio at Central Catholic downtown. And as part of that experience, I joined the campus ministry club. And campus ministry back then, we would put out posters, inspirational posters throughout the school. And we would also serve at the Mass. We would read, we would sing, we would set up the altar. I really enjoyed it. But the best thing about campus ministry was we had a little meeting room. It was an old monk's dorm room, and had a couple of chairs and a bunch of books on bookshelves. And I would get to go up there in the morning while everyone else who was not in campus ministry had to be on the first floor or outside or in the cafeteria. And we would sit up there before school and just look out on the quad and see what was going on. And it was our secret place, our secret club. And that's what I remember most about my faith experience in high school. After high school, I managed to get admitted to Texas A&M University in College Station, and I found myself there in the engineering program, but I didn't have a place to live on campus. And so I was in a quandary, and I had heard that there were plenty of rooms, but you had to join the ROTC over there. And so I ended up at the commandant's office and told him to sign me up, and which they gladly did. They shaved my head and gave me the keys to the room, and I found myself in Squadron 5 with about 100 other guys sort of in the same position. And so began my life in university. The one thing I remember was that I did miss going to church on Sundays. And so I headed to St. Mary's Parish, north of campus, and began my life there with their campus ministry. And I served in their music. I went to church, went on retreats, the Awakening, and really enjoyed my time in campus ministry with all those folks. And what I learned during this time of my life is that even away from home, I could find a home among believers. After college, I ended up in Dallas, Texas, working for a multinational company as a computer programmer. And a couple of years later, Deb and I got married. She joined me up in Dallas. We moved to Plano, then to Louisville, and ended up in Denton, where she finished up her master's degree. And we really enjoyed the Metroplex. It was full of the sights and sounds of the big city, the opera, the cowboys, the museums. It was just a beautiful and exciting place to be as we started off our life together. And after she finished her master's degree, we were looking for what we were going to do next, and we decided to head back to San Antonio, our hometown. And we both found jobs, and we moved back into town and went back to St. Vincent de Paul and really renewed our life with the parish back then. We were part of the pastoral council, part of the stewardship committee. I joined the Knights of Columbus, taught Sunday school, did the whole thing, and it was a beautiful time. Now, 25 or 30 years later, we're still here, and we are still very involved in the parish. And now we are beginning this new life in the diaconate. And so I would characterize this part of our life, this 2, maybe 3 decades, as a time of stewardship. I wanted to thank you for taking the time to look or listen to this video on my story of faith, and I appreciate and love every one of you.